Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to episode 9 of the Asian Football Show. Today, as always, I'm joined by my good friend Arya. Hello, Arya.
Hello, everyone.
We also have a very special guest in Mena. You might have seen her on Twitter. She talks a lot about Asian and African football. How are you doing, Mena?
Hi guys, nice to be with you.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you on here. So, a lot has happened throughout the past month, so let's just go straight into it, starting with the Asian World Cup qualifiers. The first and second games of the second round kicked off over the last few days. Arya, would you like to take us through the results?
All right, yeah. We'll go through the groups first. So Group A, we've got Qatar, Kuwait, India, and Afghanistan. Qatar winning both of their games, Kuwait winning one and losing one, India winning one and losing one too, and Afghanistan have lost both of their games. I think there's a lot to say for the Afghan national team who have gone through a lot. We can make a whole episode on that, to be honest. There's a lot of stuff going on that national team that needs to be addressed. Group B, Japan, North Korea, Syria, and Myanmar. Japan just cruising through this group. As we all know, they're just completely dominating. A 5-0 win against Syria and I believe it was a 5-0 win against Myanmar as well. For Group C, we've got South Korea, Thailand, China, and Singapore. China not doing as well as I thought. They've been struggling a lot. They are level on points with Thailand, but South Korea, which are the favorites of this group, are first, winning their games. I'm not sure. I believe it's 3-0 against China.
5-0.
I think 5-0 or 5-0 against Singapore.
Yeah, 5-0.
Group D, we've got Malaysia, Oman, Kyrgyzstan, and Chinese Taipei. Pretty interesting group, to be honest. Malaysia have have won 2 of their games. Top right now in 6 points. Oman with 3, level with Kyrgyzstan also with 3, and then Chinese Taipei not doing as well. So that's a very interesting group as well. I thought Oman would do better, to be honest. And the Group E, which is an interesting group too. Iran, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Hong Kong. Surprisingly, Iran are not running away with all 6 points. Currently are drawing with Uzbekistan. We're going to talk a little bit later about that. So Iran first, Uzbekistan second, both level on 4 points, but Iran is ahead on goal difference. Group F, we've got Iraq, Vietnam, Philippines, and Indonesia. Iraq winning both of their games. Vietnam winning 1. They have 3 points. And then Philippines and Indonesia level on 1 point. And then Group G, we've got Saudi Arabia, Tajikistan, Jordan, and Pakistan. Saudi Arabia, the favorites, have won both games. Tajikistan would have 4 points. And then Jordan, surprisingly, only have 1, and then Pakistan obviously with no points there. Group H, we've got the UAE, we've got I believe this is Bahrain. There is what is this? Yemen, and Nepal. The UAE with 6 points, doing very well. Bahrain and Yemen both level on 3 points, and Nepal unfortunately with no points. And then the last group, Group I, Australia, Lebanon, Palestine, and Bangladesh. Australia just wreaking havoc in this group, but Palestine actually held on. I believe they only lost 1-0 to Australia, which is a good result, which I'm presuming we're going to be talking about in a little bit. Lebanon with 2 points, Palestine with 1, and Bangladesh with 1. So what do you guys think about some of these fixtures?
Mena, would you like to talk to us about some of your favorite games?
Yeah, first, for me, it's notable the sort of return to balance for Qatar. We mentioned the Afghanistan team are going through very difficult circumstances right now with most of the players boycotting the team because of corruption allegations within the federation. But within that group, it seemed like Qatar are back to just playing in the same relaxed way they used to play in 2019. And the good thing that for me for Qatar is Nourizadeh seems to be in much better form than he was last year, or over the past years actually since 2019. So it's sort of a return for Nourizadeh. We're hoping to see him in top form in the Asian Cup. And then they have also a few notable younger players coming through the ranks, which is what they really needed over the past few years. To mention a few would be like Tamim Al Abdullah, Mustafa Mishal, Yusuf Abdulrazak. All of these are young players around 24 and younger who are really doing a good job. And then there's Hoseiny Amin, who's the left back for Qatar, that I thought is a very impressive player, even in their past few friendlies. He really stands out, a really good player. So hoping that maybe they're going to find their mojo under Carlos Queiroz, even though I'm not a big fan of his, but they seem to be doing really well. And I would love to see Qatar back in top form.
Yeah, I agree with what you said there. It's very sad to see what's going on in Afghanistan. Like I mentioned in the last episode, Kargar and his team at the Federation are just ruining the Afghan people's chances of reaching not World Cup, but even the Asian Cup. It's looking like at this point. So another notable game I wanted to talk about is Kyrgyzstan versus Oman. Arya mentioned that, yeah, he thought that Oman would be doing better at this point, by this point, but Kyrgyzstan won at home against Oman thanks to a goal from Abdurrahmanov. And I think, after they got their new coach and Stevan Tarkovic, I think they've been playing better than previously, yeah, because they were in a very bad form before that. But now they seem to be kind of returning to their 2019 version of themselves. They also played another game against Malaysia, which unfortunately they lost thanks to a 93rd minute goal from Mohammad Faisal. But they also scored three that game, just had some defensive issues. And playing against the crowd in Kuala Lumpur is always very difficult. And then in Group F, we had Iraq. They had a perfect start. They won. They hosted their first World Cup qualifier game in a long time in Basra. They won against Indonesia 5-1, a very good game by then. And then also they won against Vietnam in a very nice, very good game. A 97th minute goal from Muhammad Ali, and that was enough for them to get the 3 points from Hanoi. And then in Group G, I want to talk about Pakistan actually. Their first game, they only lost 4-0 against Saudi Arabia at home. And, that gave a lot of people hope. And until the first half, it was actually only 1-0. And they conceded two late goals as well. So it could have been just 2-0, but they conceded two late goals, which made the result a bit worse. But still, 4-0 against a team like Saudi Arabia away is, I would say, pretty good result. Unfortunately, though, a few days later in Islamabad, they did get their first ever goal in the second round of the World Cup qualifiers, but they conceded six as Tajikistan ran away with all 3 points. And yeah, Arya, is there any game you want to talk about specifically?
We all know what game I'm about to talk about. Iran versus Uzbekistan, an absolutely embarrassing performance yet again from Amir Ghanoui's team. Um, to be honest, I didn't watch the game as close as I would usually. I was watching the under-17 game against Morocco, but it's just a question of, I don't think this team is ready for the Asian Cup at all. We are facing Uzbekistan in our group. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. It's a really bad look on Ghanouи. We did score two goals against Uzbekistan in the first half, which is, more than what we do usually. We don't beat Uzbek. I don't think we've ever scored like 2 or 3 goals against them. It's a very rare thing to see us score a lot against them. It always ends up like 1-0, 2-1, or stuff like that. So, when I saw the 2-0, I was like, okay, like maybe this team is finally, getting serious. But then it seems that in the second half, they were just completely careless, to be honest, and conceded 2 goals. Game ended 2-2. Obviously, it's nothing major. It's not like our World Cup qualifying round is in trouble, as someone in this Zoom link predicted a few weeks ago. Anyways, but nevertheless, it's very, very sad to see this, and it makes me scared for the Asian Cup. I don't know what Erfan and Mena you think about this, but yeah,
I think watching the match makes it seem worse than it is, because all things considered, it is a good result to have in Uzbekistan. To come out with a tie is not a bad result in terms of qualifier chances, especially that now we have two teams advancing from this group. There are a lot of takeaways for the Iran team to get to where they need to be, but I don't think it is as bad of a result or as bad of a match as it seems. I mean, tying 2-2 after you've been winning is not the greatest feeling, but I think it's a positive result for Iran more than it is for Uzbekistan, actually.
Uh, I I'll actually meet in the middle here. I don't think it's that bad of a result, but I think we still could have done much better. The defending in the second half was just really sad to see. I mean, the first goal, I think it was off an Ali Karimi error, and then Kanani for the second goal, Kanani just didn't mark his man for some reason, and that's how they got the goal.
And
But then
nothing,
again, we
that's
we
nothing.
saw at the youth what?
Kanani not taking his man is nothing new.
Yeah, and we saw in the recent youth tournaments, Uzbek football is advancing at a very fast rate. And I think, we scored two goals in the first half in Tashkent. That's not an easy thing to do. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and I don't think that this is necessarily a very bad result, but I think the fact that over the last decade, Iran has always gotten positive results against Uzbekistan, it kind of makes this result seem bad. But yeah, I agree with what both of you said somehow. But yeah, Iran could have done better, but I'm not necessarily disappointed in the team. It doesn't make me lose any hope for the Asian Cup. I think it's just the same as before for me.
To be honest, I'll say that this game hasn't made me lost hope for the Asian Cup. I lost that hope a very, very long time ago.
Really?
So yeah, I don't fancy our chances at all, to be honest. But seeing how Japan is doing, and there's I just don't think we're on that level at all, unless we get very, very lucky. But again, when has Iran ever gotten lucky? And
Also, I want to mention how well Bangladesh played actually against Lebanon. They got a draw in Dhaka. I know I thought Lebanon would easily win that game, but big up to them. Sheikh Mossadin scored the equalizer in the 72nd minute, and they got a draw against Lebanon. Even though they lost the first game 7-0, but still getting a draw against Lebanon is not an easy thing.
I think there
Okay.
were a few surprises. I think for me, Palestine was a good
Oh yeah.
surprise in terms of a team that is, we have to mention it. I know a lot of people think it's very awkward to mention it, but mentioning those teams that are not playing at home, including both Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, teams that don't have a permanent home, they have to play away from home because of the circumstances. I think ahead of the Palestine match with Lebanon, the team we're talking about, two of their players being from Gaza, being glued to their phones to check on their families, all of these things that are things I always think of. I know you guys probably know that about me, is that the macro circumstances of football really matter to me. And I think given everything that the Palestine team is going through, I really respect the results they came out with, the tie against Lebanon in UAE, and then the result against Australia. Even though they lost 1-0, I think that was huge from them. I think they really put on a good performance, and it's a positive result towards their qualifiers. I think they still do have a chance if things do improve for them. Another team which you already mentioned is Iraq, which I'm very happy to see Iraq play at home again. Hoping all the teams get to that stage, but Iraq is just, I think they did a brilliant job getting all of their foreign players on board. Their what do you call it, the expat players from different leagues on board. They have so many players who play in Europe right now, and they have a brilliant group of very young players in Iraq. So I think Iraq might surprise us all in the qualifiers and in the Asian Cup. And I'm really looking forward to see what they do. UAE looking very stable under Paulo Bento. It's sort of like their matches just seemed like very much easy does it, and they got the result they wanted without looking too flashy, but I think
They
it's
played really
very
good against
positive.
Bahrain.
I think they played really good against them, and I think they played really good against Nepal. And against Bahrain, I noticed that Palavento also rested a few of his top players in that match, like Fabio Lima and Ali Makhut, and he still managed to get a really good result. So I think the team just seems more confident than they were in the past year or so.
Yeah, and you spoke about Palestine already. I forgot to mention this. They played their home game in Kuwait, and something really nice happened. The Kuwaiti people, they went and supported Palestine. Actually, I think it was 15, 16K people in the stand. So that was really nice to see that even though they are not playing at home, but the Kuwaitis, they are backing them up and supporting them. And it wasn't like it was a one-sided game and Palestine were defending the whole game. No, Palestine had 7 shots compared to Australia's 8, and the possession was also very, very equal. So yeah, big up to Palestine for what they're doing under the circumstances. I think that's it for the qualifiers, right?
yes, I think we should move on to the Under 17 FIFA World Cup. That is still ongoing. but unfortunately for all Asian teams, it has come to an end. Let's go through the group stage. Group A, we've got Morocco, Ecuador, Indonesia, and Panama. Indonesia actually did very well despite them only having 2 points. I think they were this close of making it out of the group. It's unfortunate, but it's things that do happen. For me, I think the top player was Arkan Kaka. I think he scored 2 goals. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was very, very good. And it was nice to see. And I mean, no one was expecting Indonesia to do anything. The only reason why they were in this tournament to begin with is because they were the hosts. And I think they put up a fight, and they were very, very, very close of making it. For Group B, we had Spain, Mali, Uzbekistan, and Canada. Uzbekistan unfortunately just got out today. But despite only having 4 points, they drew with Spain, and they beat England on their way to I think, was it the semifinals, if I'm not mistaken?
Quarterfinals.
The quarterfinals, yes. And they have this team, man. It's such a solid team, and I was watching them. They were very good. For me, I think the top player for Uzbekistan this evening definitely has to be Amir Saidov. I think he's got 4 goals, if I'm not mistaken. He's been amazing. He's just been amazing. It's really cool to see. Group C, which was the group of death, England, Brazil, whoa. Let me say that again. England, Brazil, Iran, and the mighty New Caledonia. England topping the group, Brazil being second with 6 points, and Iran also having 6 points. I think from the beginning of this tournament, no one really thought Iran would be much of a threat to England and Brazil. But I think I would tend to say we produced the shock of the tournament. I don't know if you guys would agree. Against Brazil,
Yeah, definitely that, or Uzbekistan's win against England.
Yeah, from 2-0 down to 3-2 is something I'm never going to forget. Even though it's just an under 17, game, I think it was the emotions I got out of that is something I haven't gotten from an Iranian team in ever, to be honest. And it was cool. It was really nice to see. The player for Iran, there's a lot. This one's very difficult. I don't know who the top player necessarily was. Some people would say it was Amir Azarinia. Some would say it was the goalkeeper, Asha Shakuri. I would incline towards Nima Andars, the fullback. I think he was terrific. He was amazing. Then we've got the regular suspects, Ismail Nourizadeh, Kasrat Tahiri. And then one that I want to give a shout out to would be Yahoub Baraje. I think he was decent. He wasn't the best, but I think he did put on a fight. And what I saw from this Iran team is that they had heart, and they played their hearts out, man. It was really nice to see. I loved it. And then for Group D, we've got Argentina, Senegal, Japan, and Poland. Similar to Iran, Japan made it out third with 6 points. And Japan were very good, actually. I was a little bit surprised, and I think Mena is going to agree with me here. I feel like in all levels, Japan is sometimes a very weird team to watch. You would think that they would do good in certain games, and then they don't. Or in certain games, you would think they wouldn't do good, but they do good. It's weird. And then when it comes to lineups as well. So in the Under 17 Asian Cup, what was his name? I think it was Gaku. What was his family name? I forgot.
Gaku Nawata. Gaku Nawata, I think, was their best player at the Asian Cup.
Exactly.
Who did not get much of a chance here.
He played what? Gaku Nawata played what? 1 game or 2 games? He did score.
Yeah.
Against, was it Spain? When they got knocked out, but he didn't even get any minutes. Yes. I found very, very weird. I was very, very surprised. And then their top player in this World Cup was Rento Takahaka with 4 goals. And another shout out I want to give is their keeper, Wataru Goto. I think he was insane. I think he has 2 clean sheets, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very nice to see. Some of these players might be, future stars in the future for sure. And Japan are a national side that do implement young players, unlike Iran. Same goes for Uzbekistan as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if these players are going to get called up in the next few years, for sure. Group E, probably, or not probably, I think I can confidently say they were the most disappointing Asian team. South Korea, they were in with France, USA, Burkina Faso. And I wouldn't necessarily say this is like a hard group, like as hard as South Korea made it seem, at least. France topping the group at 9 points. No surprises there. USA having 6 points. Burkina Faso getting 3. And then South Korea with no points whatsoever, with a -4 goal difference as well. Now, to be completely honest with you, for me, although they made it all the way to the final in the Under-17 Asian Cup, I said it from the beginning, I don't really see anything too special with this South Korean national team, the U17 side. Not that they're a bad team necessarily, but I don't think they're all that. I don't know. It's compared to the other youth levels, at least. I haven't really seen anything good from them. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I thought they would do better, but unfortunately they did not. So that was it for the AFC teams. The best player that I would give for South Korea, I don't even know. I don't know. What do you think?
Probably Kim
I
Young-jun.
don't. I maybe. I mean, for South Korea, I was just disappointed watching them. I think this is actually their worst U17 World Cup in years, because Korea tends to excel when it comes to age groups, especially the U20s, and even this year their U20s were also not, or did not perform as they were expected at the World Cup. So I think yeah, overall I couldn't say, I just was disappointed in their performances overall, unfortunately. Hopefully they can get back, because this is sort of like their forte. But yeah, South Korea was sad to watch.
Is there any standout players that you guys got from these Asian sides? Any country?
I mean,
For
I wasn't
me,
able
yeah.
to. Oh, sorry, Mena, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say Rento Takaoka. It has to be my standout player out of Asian teams. Even when I had to pick one, it had to be him in the group stage. But then, as the teams advanced, I think Amirbek Saidov from Uzbekistan is now to me the standout player, just because of how much he contributed to his team getting this far.
Yeah, I was gonna mention also. I think the best player would have to be Saidov from Uzbekistan, and I wasn't able to catch almost any game actually out of the tournament except the Iran-Brazil game and the Iran-Morocco game. But yeah, from what I've seen on the highlights, I think Saidov and was the Japanese guy's name Takaoka. Takaoka have to be the two standout players for me.
For me, yeah,
Okay,
Takaoka is definitely going to be up there. And then the second one, I want to throw him in because just the way I saw him, I saw all Iran's games. He was just fantastic in all of them. It has to be Nima Andor. This guy, bro, he's like the next Roberto Carlos. Okay, he's
the next Mahdavikia.
literally, bro, he was insane. I think he had against England, it was 12, 12 tackles complete,
Interception.
something, yeah, interceptions, something like that.
Yeah.
Just he was a tank, bro. But anyways, that's it for the Under-17 World Cup. Unfortunately, no team could have made it to the final, but I think all teams except for South Korea were amazing. And yeah, is there any comments, or let's move on to the next topic?
Yeah, let's just move on.
All right. So the next topic will be the Under-23 Asian Cup draw, which happened a few days ago. I'm gonna let Mena and Erfan take over from this because I have talked a lot. So I'll let you guys take it.
Okay. Okay, so I'll start. The draw happened yesterday, I think it was. And the tournament's going to take place in Qatar on April next month. So I'll just go through the groups really quick. In Group A, Australia, Qatar, Jordan, and Indonesia. Group B, which is definitely the group of death, we have Japan, South Korea, UAE, and China. So honestly, I think all four teams have a good chance of getting out of the group stages, except maybe China, but you never know in these youth tournaments. In Group C, we have Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Thailand, and Tajikistan. And in Group D, we have Uzbekistan, Vietnam, Kuwait, and Malaysia. Well, we know one team is missing from there, unfortunately. Iran failed to qualify
Let's not talk about
earlier this year. Yeah, let's just not talk about that. It's
Let's
very
not talk about
disappointing.
it.
And the one thing I like about these youth tournaments, or this tournament specifically, is that it isn't 24 teams like the Asian Cup. So I say the level is higher than what you would expect. You will have good games like Japan and South Korea from the group stages already. So yeah, Mena.
Yeah, I was very happy with this draw. I think I like when the groups are challenging all around, and I think we have really solid groups from top to bottom. Just it's going to be great, and then we also have very high stakes because only the top three teams get to qualify for the Olympics.
The
Which
fourth place as well, right? For the playoffs.
it's for the playoffs, but not direct qualifiers. qualification for the Olympics. And therefore, the stakes remain very high for all the teams. I think every team is solid. And the thing about the under-23s is that, unlike other competitions, it is way less predictable and surprises always happen. I think last Asian Cup, Saudi and Uzbekistan were the biggest surprises, and they did really well. This time around, I think I have not watched a lot of the recent form of all of these teams, but I think, for example, Japan has a very solid under-22 team. I don't know how the recent movement of some of the players from the under-22s to the senior team will affect Japan's chances, or whether Japan will try and get some of those players back for the Asian Cup. But I think they have an abundance of choices anyway when it comes to youth groups. And I think this is where the nations that have really solid grassroots programs prevail. And it's very obvious when you see how excellent Uzbekistan, for example, Japan, Korea are on this level. And recently also Saudi, who started investing in a really young, solid generation of players and coaches as well. Yeah, I could not tell you who would win this competition right off the bat. I think this is one of these competitions you have to wait and see those teams before you actually start taking bets.
Yeah, and just looking again at Group B, I mean, to see that at the group stage of an Asian competition is crazy, you know. Even the UAE, I think they got some good results this month. I think they played a few friendlies. So yeah, that group is absolutely insane, and I'm definitely looking forward to this tournament.
If I can add one last thing, when I was speaking about the form of the Japanese national team, they recently just played a friendly match against Argentina, which I tried my best to cover, but I just couldn't. And they won that game. So it looks cool. It looks very good. They look, I mean, obviously they're probably going to be the favorites to win, as they are in almost every competition. But like you guys have said, this is a very unpredictable tournament. So we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
to add to that, also Korea just beat France under 21s recently as well. And it was a really good match for that team. So I think all of these teams have been preparing. Everyone has their eyes on the Olympics. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they would perform.
Okay, and Arya, what's the next topic?
I believe it is the AFC Champions League, which is Erfan's favorite thing to do. So we're going to go through the most recent games. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, when were the dates played necessarily? So I can just find
7th November.
the 7th of November, right? So
6th or 7th?
6th. It was the 6th. There we go.
Okay, 6th, yeah.
So there's been a lot to digest here. First of all, we're starting off with a bang. Al-Quwa Algeria, the Iraqi team, Air Force, beat Karim Benzema's Al-Ittihad 2-0. Ali Jassim, which I've praised a lot, has just been fantastic this whole tournament. Very excited to see him in Europe if he can finally join a European club, which I hope he does.
I really hope a team snatches him up. He's just a supreme talent. Brilliant.
Very good. Then we've got Al Hilal, usual business, beating Mumbai City 2-0, which actually wasn't that bad. I watched a little bit of the game, and the result, to be fair to Mumbai City, they weren't awful either. The ratings show otherwise, but from what I saw, they weren't necessarily that bad. I do think they need better attacking players though, because their players cannot finish if their lives dependent on it. Nasaf Raji 1-1 against Sharjah Cultural Club. Nothing really too special in that game. And then Navbahor, which has been a very surprising team here. They are literally neck and neck with Al Hilal, both tied on 10 points. Beat Nasaji Mazandaran 3-1. Al Faisali beating Al Sadd 2-0, which is another surprising one, I would say, at least. And then probably the game of the tournament here, Sepahan just absolutely destroying AGMK of Uzbekistan 9-0 with a brilliant performance from Hamad Jawad Hoseiny. Brilliant stuff. And then on the other side of the continent, Kawasaki Frontale beating Patum United 4-2. Shandong Taishan of China beating Incheon United 3-1. Johor Darut Hazim beating Ulsan Hyundai 2-1, which is another cool result to see. And then Yokohama Marinos beating KFC of the Philippines 2-1. Ahol and Porto Tor Tashkent That was a 1-1 game, and then Persepolis and Istiklal was a 1-1 game. I'm not too sure what Persepolis is really doing here. I don't know. I feel like they could do much better. It's weird to see how they are playing. And then Al-Fayha losing to Al Ain 3-2, and Al Dahad losing 2-3 to Al Nassr, which was a very, very close game, to be fair. Felipe Coutinho and Anderson Talisca were simply brilliant. And I'm sure you guys have a lot to say for that game. And then we've got Melbourne City losing 1-0 to Birmingham United. We've mentioned this in the past, Erfan, and I feel like the Australian teams are not doing as well as they should be doing. Lion City Sailors beating John Burke FC 2-0. Pohang Steelers beating Urawa Red Diamonds 2-1, to be fair. That is a pretty big result too. Jose Conte, however, was very good for Urawa Red Diamonds from what I've saw. And then the second, the J2 club, Ventford Kofu, my team, the team that I want to do well in this tournament, beat a CSL club, Zhejiang Professional, 4-1. 4-1. That is a huge, huge result. It's not like a 1-0 or something like that. 4-1 against a top CSL club. That is insane. Bangkok United tying 1-1 with Kitchi, and then Hanoi FC winning the game 2-1.
Okay, so for me, I think everyone's favorite underdogs are Ventford Kofu. I think everyone's looking for them looking forward to see them actually go far in this competition, and I think they're on their way at least to the knockouts right now. Cannot state how brilliant it is, like seeing them perform at this level and be so good in all their matches against really big teams from across Asia. And I'll stay on the east side before moving on to the west and just say that Frontale are looking formidable. I think Frontale is doing brilliant. I think they will go far. I'm hoping at least to the semifinal. I really think they deserve it. They've been really good in this competition. Really disappointed in Urawa Red Diamonds' performances lately, but I think they've run out of steam after winning the Champions League in April, and I think it has reflected on their performances. The team does not seem as coherent. The team seems a little bit exhausted. They're having issues with the management and the club, and I hope to see them get back in form, but I don't see it happening so far as to get them to the final. They don't look as strong as they did in last year's group stage, at least. If I'm going to move to the West, I think one team that everyone talks about is Al Nassr. Al Nassr have been brilliant. They've just been so solid. There is no doubt that they're going to go far in this competition. And of course, everyone wants to see Cristiano Ronaldo get really far in the Champions League. Everyone would love to see a Champions League final with Cristiano Ronaldo in it. But for me, the team that I think everyone should keep eyes on is Al Ain. I think Al Ain have been putting on steady performances, very understated what they're doing, but it's actually really, really good. And it's really good to see the team back in form that way, because Al Ain tend to sort of like peak and dip across different years. And it's really good to see them put on strong performances. And I think they could also go really far. So I think from East and West, these would be my teams that I'm hoping to see go far. But one team maybe I didn't mention is Pohang Steelers. Pohang Steelers have been very solid, really, really good. And I think they will also be in the coming rounds, putting on even better and better performances. But for me, I hope to see Frontale, Ventford Kofu, Al Nassr, and Al Ain in the semifinals at least.
Yeah, I was going to speak about Al Ain as well. They've just been phenomenal. Kujulabo, I mean, has been treating the Asian Champions League like his game. He's just been playing around with every team, scoring some really, really good goals. He scored, I think it was a back heel goal against Al Fayha. I can't remember exactly how it was, but it was a really nice goal. He scored two against them. They were leading 2-0, even though Al Fayha did come back a bit, but then yeah, it was just not enough. And Al Ain have had a perfect start so far. Another team I want to mention is Sepahan. They're just really weird. Technically, they're undefeated. They didn't lose any game if we put aside the Al Ittihad game, which was given as a 3-0 loss. They've they didn't play too well against Air Force, but then after that, they've played really well against AGMK. 3 goals in Al Malak and then 9 goals in Tehran. They seem unstoppable in Asia at least. And then Navbahor, I think Arya mentioned, yeah, they're toe to toe with Al Hilal. After that draw in Riyadh, which I still think they should have won. I mean, way too much added time, even though it's kind of common in football nowadays. But yeah, Navbahor, I think they will definitely be one of the teams going into the next round. If not in first place, they will go as one of the second place teams. And then Al Nassr, they just Talisca and Ronaldo have been playing really well. We had an all Brazilian goal game in Al Duhail versus Al Nassr. Both games were amazing, both in Riyadh and in Doha, but Al Nassr won both of them. And then Persepolis, yeah, they've been a bit disappointing. First of all, they lost against Al Nassr at home with barely any chances. Scraped past at Duhail. They played better against Istiklal, but then in Dushanbe they didn't play well at all. The Torabi free kick was nice, but Istiklal, to be honest, I think if any team deserved to win this game, it would have been Istiklal. Moving on to the east side, I want to mention Kaya. They in Manila they only lost 2-1 against Yokohama, and they were drawing actually until the 87th minute as well, until Jan Mateos scored the winner for Yokohama. And then went to Fred Kofu. I mean, what else is there to mention? I think it shows the level of Japanese football, how ahead it is compared to other teams in East Asia at least. And yeah, we've seen the defending champions Urawa Red only on 4 points in 4 games. Very disappointing. I think Group J is one of the groups where we're going to see the second place team not advance. And yeah, those are my thoughts on the Asian Champions League games. Arya?
I was muted. Okay, brilliant.
Okay.
Moving on to the AFC Cup, Erfan.
Yeah, I'll go through the results. So in Group A, which is the west side, Jabal Al Mukaber, the Palestinian side's games have to be were postponed because of well, we know what's going on. So they will play Al Ahad at a later date of Lebanon. Al Nahda of Oman beat Al Futuwa of Syria 2-1. In Group B, Al Kuwait drew 1-1 with Al Ittihad of Syria, and Al Kahraba beat Al Wahdat of Jordan 3-1 in Basra. In Group C, again the west side, Al Rifa of Bahrain beat Al Arabi 2-1. Najba lost 2-1 to Al Zawra in Saudi Arabia. In Group D, which is the South Asian side, South Asian zone, we have 2 Indian teams in Odisha and Mohun Bagan, but it's actually Bashundara Kings of Bangladesh who are first currently on head-to-head points. Both them and Mohun Bagan have 7 points, but Bashundara beat Mohun Bagan and Dhaka a few days ago. I mean, a few weeks ago. So that's why they are first. You know, I have to give it up to them. They've been doing really, really well in this tournament. The only loss they had was against Mazia of Maldives in the first match day, which was a bit disappointing. But then after that, they've been much, much better. And they played 3 games against Indian sides, being undefeated in all of them. In Group E, which is the central zone, we have Abdish at the count of Kyrgyzstan at first with 10 points. 2 Turkmen teams, and Altan Asr and Merv Murray in second and third place, with Altan Asr looking like the only team that can actually challenge the Kyrgyz side for the place in the interzonal playoffs. And then Ravshan Club, only 2 points, so they're last. And then in Group F, MacArthur FC of Australia, 9 points, tied with Phnom Penh Crown. Phnom Penh, last time I mentioned, they beat MacArthur 3-0 in Cambodia, but that was because MacArthur did not send a lot of their first team players because of some scheduling issues with the A-League. They got the revenge. They won 5-0 in Sydney. DH Cebu of the Philippines and Shah United of Myanmar looking like they're out of the tournament. In Group G, we have another Australian team in first, 9 points also. Central Coast Mariners, after losing their first game to Terengganu of Malaysia, they won all their games. 9-1 against Dalian, 2-1 against Bali, which was a good performance by Bali. And then also 6-3 against Bali in Gosford. Terengganu with 8 points in second, only just 1 point behind Central Coast, so they could still finish first if they beat Central Coast again. And Bali United and Stallion Laguna all but out of the tournament. In Group H, the final group of the Asian zone, Sabah FC of Malaysia are first with 9 points. Haiphong and PSM of Indonesia both with 6 points. So it's going to be close between them for the second place spot. Hogang United of Singapore with 3 points as well, but I think it's going to be the other three teams who will be fighting for top two. And Group I, which is the final group and the East Asian zone, Taichung Futuro of Chinese Taipei and Ulaanbaatar, who've surprised me, to be honest. They've been playing really well. They're on 9 points, tied with Taichung. They have a higher goal difference, but they're losing out on head-to-head points. Another Chinese Taipei team, Taiwan Steel, are third, and the CPK of Macau are last with 0 points. So yeah, those are the results of the AFC Cup Matchday 4. It's kind of sad because this is the last season we're going to see these type of teams in the second tier competition. Next year we're going to have another competition in the AFC Challenge League. So I think this year is very important because it will be probably the last chance for a lot of these teams to cement their names into history as the second tier Asian club competition winners.
Yeah, I think you've said everything. I don't have much to add. I don't know about you, Minna. Do you have anything to add to that?
From my side, not much.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the AFC annual awards that happened a few weeks ago. We're not gonna go too detailed about this. We're not gonna go in depth about it, but I think it's worth mentioning some of these awards. We're not gonna go through the what do you call it? The AFC Diamond of Asia, the MA and RA awards. I don't think those are too relevant. We can mention if you guys want. I don't know. It's up to you, but I think it's better if we just go to the player and coaching award. That's what you guys think. You guys think?
Yeah, I think we just go through the awards.
So, okay.
Yeah.
You can go on.
Okay. So we had both the men's and women's player of the year. But there was two different awards. There was one for players who are playing domestically, and then there was another one for the legionnaires or the expats who are playing outside of the continent. So for the local one, Salam Al-Dasari won it.
Very
I
controversial.
mean,
Very, very controversial.
I don't know. I mean, the other two nominees, Almoz Ali, I still don't know why Almoz Ali got nominated.
Yeah.
I don't think he deserved to be there. Yeah, the only one who had a chance, I'd say, was Matthew Leckie for Melbourne FC. I think he deserved it, Salam, but yeah, there wasn't much competition. What do you think, Mana?
I I think it's if we're looking at the 2022 season, I think that Salim's performance at the World Cup and at the qualifiers and at the AFC Champions League is what sort of makes sense when you think about it in that way, is that he performed well in almost all of the AFC's competitions within that year, more than any other player, I guess. And in that sense, he does stand out as the one player who, within Asian football, has stood out for the past year. And I do think he is a brilliantly talented player. And yeah, I think in that sense, I can see why Salim was the one who was chosen. There are many players that we all would have liked to see nominated or see win, but if we do look at it from this lens, I cannot think of many other players who have performed consistently across all of the AFC's competitions over the past year as Salim has.
Yeah, and the other player of the year, the expat one, was won by Kim Min Jae. I mean, to be honest, even though I'm Iranian, I think he deserved it.
Yeah, I agree.
Just very, very, very good for both Fenerbahce and even better for Napoli, you could say. He earned his move to Bayern Munich. Mitoma, obviously a very good season with Brighton after doing well for Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium. And Mehdi Taremi as well. Excellent season last year at Porto. He won the top scorer award in his league, but I still don't think any of those two were even close to it. Well, not too far, but I think it was obvious that Kim Min-jae would win that award. And then for the women's award, it was obviously won by Sam Kerr.
Yeah.
Very good season with Chelsea. The other nominees were Saki Kamugai of Japan and Zhang Lingyan. Anything, Mena, maybe you want to speak on that?
I think I love Zhang Binyan. I think she's brilliant. I'm very happy to see her win. I think it made sense to me she would win the award, especially after the Women's Asian Cup last year. The China team really were absolutely great, and I think also their coach deserved the award as well. So yeah, I have no objection. I was very happy to see her move to Europe. I think she's gonna do great.
Yeah. And then the coaches of the year for the men's and women's respectively was won by Hajime Moriyasu.
No surprise.
Definitely deserved,
Yeah.
100% deserved. And then for the women's one, it was like Mena mentioned, Shui. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Can you pronounce it for me, Mena, please?
My Mandarin is not great. I would not be able to
I
pronounce
think it's
it.
Let's just call him by his first name, Shui. We don't want to cause any controversy. So yeah, he won the woman. I mean, she won the women's coach of the year. And then the other awards, futsal player of the year was won by Muslim Al. He and Tayyebi, his other compatriot, they won the UEFA Futsal Champions League with Palma, and he played a really big part of it. I think he scored one of the pens in the final, and because it went to penalty shootout. The other nominees were Guillermo Koromoto and Said Ahmad Abbasi, another Iranian. For that award, I think Al definitely deserved it. And then the Youth Player of the Years for the men's and women's awards. Women's award was won by Maika Hamano, who plays for Chelsea. She's the Japanese forward. And then for the men's one, I think this is the most controversial award, and Arya will definitely agree with me here. So the three nominees were Kuri Matsuki of Japan, Amin Hazwawi of Iran, and Lee Seung-won. And Matsuki won, and I think out of the three, he is the least deserving one there. What do you think, Arya?
Are you guys ready for my rant?
Yep, go on.
How? 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 Like, how? What does Amin Hazbavi have to do to get any sort of recognition? Like, what does he have to do? And I mean, no disrespect towards Matsuki, but as you mentioned, I think he's the least deserving one there. He's good. Don't think he was on Hazbavi's level at all. I think Hazbavi was far ahead of of both nominees, and it came up to a surprise to a lot of people, even people who are in Japan. I've spoken to a few of my friends, and they were even surprised that Hazbavi didn't win it. I don't know what like thought process went for Matsuki to win this award. I don't know. I really don't know. I was speechless. I was very disappointed because Hazbavi doesn't have a lot going his way. With his move to Al Sadd, with him not playing for the international team, I would have expected him to at least, have something like this. Would have been nice for him. Doesn't seem that anything is really going his way, to be honest. I really do feel bad. I don't know what else he has to do to get any sort of recognition, but yeah.
I would have said that it would have to been Hasbawi or Sungwon. I mean, Sungwon, I think he won the silver or bronze ball at the U20 World Cup. He was really good, and he got his first senior contract as well with I don't remember the team, but it was a KLE club. And yeah, I think out of the three, it's just a bit crazy how Matsuki won. Do you want to say anything on that, Mena?
I mean, I also I don't know the inner. Matsuki is probably one of the few players that represents different age groups for all the teams that he plays for. I mean, he plays both under 20s, he plays under 22s, And I think that might have played a role in him being chosen, just because he played a good role in the under-23s Asian Cup in the last few matches for Japan, and then he was also in the under-20s, and he played the under-20s World Cup. And I think in that sense, he has a huge spectrum of experiences that maybe makes him stand out. I really don't know. I think there's so many brilliant players that could have won that award, but I think when I look at 2022 as a year, I think Kuryu Matsuki, especially at the beginning of the year, stood out to everyone as Japan's number one youth player just because of how intelligent he is and how capable he is of playing a key role across different age groups as young as he is. So I think that might have been why he was chosen. And if I'm trying to make sense of it, yeah, I think I cannot think of another player who had that key role in different age group AFC competitions within the past year and as well as in the under-20s World Cup.
Fair enough. And just the other awards I'll mention really quick. The referees, a team of Australian referees consisting of Chris Beath, Ashley Beckham, and Anton Shetinen won the referee special award. And I think a lot of A-League fans will disagree with that. The VAR referee was won by Ahmed Ajanabi of the UAE. The best member association of the year was Uzbekistan, and I think it deserved it. They have advanced so much over the last year, it's both in youth football and the senior football, as well as the clubs. The best regional association was won by CAFA, and me and Arya, we sometimes make fun of the CAFA tournaments, but I think CAFA they're organizing tournaments at every level, both for the girls and boys side, at every youth level, at senior level, everything. And the CAFA Nations Cup was also organized better than I expected. So I think they actually did a very good job. So I think that's deserved. And thank you again, Mena, for joining us today. Arya, thank you as well for being here like always. And make sure to follow all of us on Twitter. Arya is at 29 United. Mena is at Mena. What's your at again?
It's Mena A Ali.
Okay, Mena A Ali, and I'm ERY on 1806. And make sure to also, if you're watching this on YouTube, follow us on Spotify. And if you're watching on Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube. And yeah, have a good day, guys.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.